What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Collective MMA channel. Today, we are here with episode 20 of Fight IQ. We're going to be breaking down LFA 240 going down this Friday, August 28th. So without any further ado, let's jump right on into it. In the first fight of the night, we have Myles Dillahunty versus Sam Fournier. This is at light heavyweight. On the Dillahunty side, he's a decent striker. Throw some leg kicks, but he's mainly striking to set up his takedowns. He's got decent takedowns, pretty good top control in transitions. He is position over submission, and he's got some pretty good ground and pound. He'll take you down, want to get the mount, and then go for some ground and pound from there. On the Fournier side, he's really big for the weight class. He's 6'6". He's going to have a reach advantage in this one. He's a pretty good striker. He works the jab, the low kicks, some teep kicks in there as well. He's got decent power, some boxing combos. Doesn't have the best takedown defense, but he does look to work back to the feet if he is taken down. I'm going to lean towards Dillahunty getting this one done by a knockout. It's pretty binary. If Dillahunty can get the takedowns and his ground and pound going on, he likely makes this look easy. However, if he is not able to do so, Fournier, is going to be better on the feet, keep him at range, work the jabs and the leg kicks, and he will look like a massive favorite. But yeah, I'm going to trust Dillahunty to get the takedowns going here and end up finding a ground and pound finish. Next up, we have Kue Htoo versus Ray Taylor. Both of these guys are making their pro debuts. On the Taylor side, he's a decent striker. He's big for the weight class. He's 6 foot tall, which is pretty big for flyweight. He's got a pretty good sprawl and takedown defense. He works back to the feet if he's taken down. He's got some pretty good grappling and a good guillotine. On the Htoo side, he's a pretty good striker, kicks to all levels. He's fast, athletic. He's got some decent power, boxing combos. He's a bit wild at times. He does like the pressure. He also has a good guillotine. He jumps sometimes. He scrambles, and he's got decent grappling. I think this is going to be a close fight. I'm going to lean towards Taylor getting done by decision, but I wouldn't be shocked if Htoo got this one done. Taylor has a wrestling background, and I think he's going to be a better grappler in this one. He should be able to implement his grappling game. He had a nice comeback guillotine win in his last fight. He was pretty much getting controlled in rounds 1 and 2, and then ended up getting a guillotine in round 3. Htoo will have the experience advantage here and is likely the better striker, but will be at a noticeable size disadvantage. Taylor is 21, quite young, and both of them are making their pro debut. So yeah, kind of hard to pick this one. We didn't have lines for the first fight. We don't have any lines for this fight either. So we'll see if what those look like when they come out. But yeah, I think this fight's going to be competitive, and I could see both guys having success. In the first fight, I think Dillahunty is probably going to be a favorite, and this one, I think Taylor's probably going to be the favorite. So depending on what the lines are, if Htoo's a big underdog, I wouldn't mind a shot on him. So I'll have to see what those lines look like when they come out. Next up, we have Chuy Rodriguez versus Jared Gonzales. We also do not currently have lines for this fight. On the Rodriguez side, he's a decent striker. He likes to pressure, throw some straights and boxing combos. He likes the cage push, and he's quite good in the cage push position with good clinch knees and dirty boxing. Seems to be a decent grappler as well. On the Gonzales side, he's a decent striker. He throws teeps. He does struggle defending the leg kicks, which I think could be a problem for him here. He's not the most defensively sound, likes the pressure, cage push also, and he can get stuck against the cage. So those two things there, him not defending the leg kicks and him getting stuck against the cage, I think could be two problems for him here. I think Rodriguez gets this one done by a knockout. He's going to have more tools on the feet and be just a more overall skilled fighter. I think he can land some big shots on the feet and eventually find the TKO. Very good in the clinch, and I think he can end up having a lot of success in that clinch cage push position. Next up, we have Rakim Talley versus Darius Parker. Currently do not have lines for this fight. On the Talley side, he hasn't fought in about 3.5 years. He's an okay striker, teep kicks. He's got some basic boxing combos. He's on the lower volume side. He struggles defending the leg kicks. Not the most defensively sound. He likes the cage push, and he has decent takedowns. On the Parker side, he's a decent striker. He mixes up his strikes and targets. Got some long straights, karate stance, pretty good kicks, hands low style, and he is not the most defensively sound. I'm going to lean towards Parker getting this one done by TKO. He will have more tools on the feet and be the cleaner striker. Talley likely looks to cage push here and take this fight to the mat if he is able to implement that. I think he could be a live dog in this one. I'm assuming he's going to be the dog. We'll see what the lines look like. Neither guy has a ton of pro experience, but I'll side with the younger and more athletic guy in Darius Parker. Next up, we have Austin Miller versus Quadarrius McGinnis. Miller is coming in at -500 and McGinnis at +383. On the Miller side, he's a decent striker, has the hands low style, not the most defensively sound. Boxing combos, he's willing to trade in the pocket, kicks to all levels. He likes to pressure, cage push, some decent grappling, pretty good clinch knees. He's got some heavy ground and pound. He can get stuck against the cage, and he has decent takedowns. On the McGinnis side, he's a decent striker, high kick, basic combos, cage push, and he is not the most defensively sound. I think Miller gets this one done by knockout. Both of these guys are a little bit hard to trust, especially with them being, hittable and not the, most responsible defensively. I think Miller, though, does have more tools and should be able to get this one done. I think he'll be pressuring McGinnis, backing him up, keeping him on the back foot, and mix up his targets and eventually find a TKO finish in this one. Next up, we have Andrew Stewart versus Shane Sobnosky. Stewart coming in at -500 and Sobnosky coming in at +383. Stewart, he's a decent striker, got some basic combos, pretty good power. He likes to pressure, mainly a boxing-focused attack. He does mix up his strikes and targets, pretty good takedowns, some decent grappling, and pretty good top control. On the Sobnosky side, he's an okay striker, not the most defensively responsible. He's pretty basic on the feet, not the best takedown defense, and he can get stuck on bottom position. I like Stewart in this one. I like Stewart by finish. Stewart, took a loss in his last one, didn't have his best performance, and I think this is a very good bounce back spot for him here. He'll be the better striker and the better grappler, so he should be able to win this fight wherever it goes and dominate in the grappling and likely find either a TKO or submission finish. Outside of Sobnosky landing a perfect punch, I can't really see how he gets this one done. So I think Stewart is probably one of the more confident picks on this card for me. We'll keep moving. Next up, we have Finn Martin versus Mataeo Garner. Martin coming in at -700 and Garner at +505. On the Martin side, he's an okay striker, mainly striking to set up his takedowns. He's got good takedowns and mat returns, pretty good grappling, top pressure, pretty good ground and pound. He's a back taker, and he is position over submission. On the Garner side, he's a decent striker, smaller for the weight class, boxing combos, mainly that boxing-focused attack. He throws some leg kicks. He can get stuck against the cage. He likes the cage push. He's got decent takedowns and pretty good ground and pound. I like Martin in this one either by ground and pound TKO or submission. Garner seemed pretty small for middleweight, and this fight is up at light heavyweight, so he'll probably look even smaller. Garner can be controlled against the cage and on the bottom, and Martin doesn't offer much on the feet, but I think this is a good matchup for him, and his grappling should be quite effective en route to finding a finish on the mat. Like I mentioned, Martin, he's going to really need to get this fight to the mat. He doesn't really offer much in the striking, but I do believe he will be able to get it there, and he should get this one done at a pretty high clip. Next up, we have Alexander Schenk versus Francisco Hernandez. Schenk is coming in at -150 and Hernandez at +130. This is an interesting matchup and one of the, closely lined money lines here. For Schenk, he's a pretty good striker, good leg kicks. He mixes up his strikes and targets. He's athletic. He's got a kick-heavy style and a variety of kicks to go with that. He's got some dynamic attacks also. Good timing, combos, clinch knees. He works the body. Pretty good grappling. He's opportunistic with the back takes, and he's got a rear naked choke. On the Hernandez side, he's a decent striker, variety of kicks also. Basic combos, dynamic attacks, decent power, decent clinch attacks, pretty good ground and pound, decent takedown defense. He can get stuck on bottom position, also can get stuck against the cage. I like Schenk in this one, either by decision or by late finish. I think Schenk's just going to have more tools on the feet and be the better striker. He's also going to be more accurate in the striking. Hernandez likes to back up a lot, and I think Schenk can do a good job of pressuring, landing damaging shots on the feet, and I also think he will be the better grappler in this one. Schenk has fought the better level of competition, and I think he has the skills to get this one done. Yeah, both these guys like to kick, but Schenk also has more power and then more impactful shots. And I think that will, do well for him in the eyes of the judges. I'm leaning towards this one going to decision. And yeah, I think it'll be Schenk's the one moving forward. Hernandez backing up. And then Schenk's just going to be landing the, more ooh and ah shots on the feet, which will play well for the judges. And yeah, I think at minus 150, he's a, solid look for this weekend. Yeah, I think it's going to be close, but I do think Schenk has got better tools, and I think he would be a solid, just straight money line bet for on Friday, tomorrow, or today, whenever you're watching this. Next up, we have Elvis Silva versus Akbarjon Islomboev. Islomboev coming in at minus 1,800 and Silva at plus 979. On the Silva side, he's a pretty good striker, kick-heavy style. He's got some decent power. He feints quite a bit. Not the most defensively sound. He can get stuck on bottom position and doesn't offer much off of his back. He okay takedown defense, and he uses a guillotine as takedown defense at times. He's got okay scrambles, and he likes to cage push at times. On the Islomboev side, he's a pretty good striker, a little bit underrated, I would say. He's got some leg kicks, mixes up his strikes and targets. He likes to pressure, works the jab high and low, which I'm a fan of, throws some combos. Doesn't have the best leg kick defense, which I think Silva may look to attack here. He's got some questionable antics, Islomboev does, after he hits his opponent, kind of celebrating, taunting, that kind of thing, which I'm not the biggest fan of. He's got decent takedown defense, pretty good grappling, and top pressure. He's got some good experience. He's position over submission, and he's got some decent ground and pound. Yeah, the odds speak volumes here. I do think it might be a little crazy, but yeah, Islomboev, like he gets it done by finish or a decision. I'm going to lean towards finish. He's going to be bigger here, have more pathways to win. He should be able to implement his takedowns and grappling game. And Silva, in his last fight, he lost and pretty much got out-grappled. And I think that we could see something similar here. It could be competitive on the feet, but once Islomboev gets on top, Silva will not have much to counter that. And Islomboev's control and physicality likely will be too much for Silva in this one. Moving on to the main event. Guys, be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, leave me a comment. It really helps me out. Thank you guys so much for all your support up to this point. In the main event, we have Dedrek Sanders versus Luis Gomez. Dedrek Sanders coming in at minus 175 and Gomez coming in at plus 153. This is an interesting one. Dedrek Sanders has been on a bit of a tear as of recently, stacking up a couple of nice wins together in the LFA. So you got to think his confidence is at an all-time high here. Coming off 2 TKO wins. And then on the Gomez side, this is a guy who actually got a shot on the Contender Series back in 2017 against Dan Ige. He ended up losing that fight by RNC in the 3rd round. And, he's been a little bit inactive as of recently. He fought twice in 2026, but before that he hadn't fought in about 4 years. But, yeah, it's interesting. He's fought some decent level of competition, Javier Reyes, who's in the UFC, Chase Hooper, Herbert Burns, obviously Sadiq Youssef, Dan Ige. So he's fought some names for sure. On the Sanders side, he's a decent striker. He mixes up his targets, boxing combos, some decent power. He's got good clinch knees and elbows. He's very poised. He's not the most defensively sound, however. He's got a variety of kicks, decent takedown defense, and he does a good job scrambling and tries to work back to the feet if he's taken down. He likes to cage push. He's got some decent takedowns, pretty good grappling game, and he's got pretty good cardio. On the Gomez side, he's a pretty good striker. You know, he likes to throw power shots. He mixes up his targets, throws those leg kicks. He puts combos together. He's got decent takedowns of his own, and he has a judo background. Pretty good grappling. He attacks submissions, sometimes giving up position. He's got decent takedown defense and works back to the feet if he's taken down. He likes the cage push and has a pretty good grappling game overall. This is one where, you know, pre-tape, I was thinking, yeah, I'll be on Sanders here, you know, didn't know the most about Gomez, but after tape, I like Gomez in this one. You know, I think he's a live dog for sure. I think he's going to find a knockout in this one or maybe a clean decision. You know, Gomez is going to have the boxing edge in this one and the power edge. And I think he's going to be able to, you know, back up Sanders, landing his power shots. And I think he can hold his own in the grappling, you know, having that judo background. You know, he's not going to be easy to have success with in the grappling game. Although Sanders is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, you know, Gomez, like I said, with that judo base, I think he's going to be able to hold his own. In one of his last fights, which was about 4 years ago, he went up against Javier Reyes, who is now in the UFC, and he was looking good early in that fight, even wobbled Reyes early and had some grappling success of his own. He eventually ended up on bottom with Reyes in mount and got TKO'd, but he fought like hell and didn't want the ref to stop it. You know, he was defending, trying his best to avoid the shots, but, you know, it was just a lot of, you know, ground and pound coming down on him. And I see why the ref stopped it, but I also see why Gomez was upset that it got stopped in that same breath. I think Gomez will be able to hurt Sanders at least once, if not more, and potentially get him out of there. Yeah, I think he's going to be he's the younger and the more explosive guy. So I think at this price, I think there's some value on Gomez. You know, I'm seeing plus 153, plus 158, that range. I think he's an absolutely live underdog. Again, Sanders is no slouch. Sanders is on a winning streak. You know, he's been looking pretty good as of late. But I think Gomez is just the overall more skilled guy, and he is going to have more pathways to win in this one. So that does it for LFA 240. Note that we will have 5 MMA bets in just 10 minutes coming out as well on Friday. Today, if you're watching this on Friday. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll keep coming out with the content. We have, LFA on Friday. We have UFC Shanghai starting early Saturday morning. So yeah, lots of MMA this weekend, lots of betting opportunities. And yeah, we will cover the 5 bets in 10 minutes video coming up soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. Good luck to all you guys this weekend, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.